The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Geopoint Basics Training webinar. My name is Carly. I manage customer content here at Geopoint, actually here at Ascent Cloud for Geopoint, and I'm excited to get you introduced to the Geopoint app. Maybe you're new to using Geopoint, maybe you just need a refresher, and we're going to get you familiar with how to do the essential tasks. So let's jump into it. Before we get started, just want to let you know, if you got questions during the course of this webinar, go ahead and enter them in the questions section. We'll try to cover those at the end of the webinar. If you'd like a copy of today's webinar, you can email customersuccess@geopoint.com and we'll send you over a recording. So just want to give you a rundown of what we'll be covering today. We're going to talk about how you can use our resources to find answers and help for using Geopoint. We're going to jump into the Geopoint interface, show you how to navigate around the map, use the tools, and accomplish your tasks. We're going to create some data sets. Those are the collections of Salesforce records that are pretty much the heart of using Geopoint. And we're going to use different adjustments and customizations, including search types, filters, and visualization tools to really bring all of your Salesforce data to life. We'll create some shapes. We'll talk about how you can use shapes in Geopoint, and then we'll jump into routing. We'll also talk about calendar scheduling, which is sort of an alternative option for doing routing in Geopoint. And we'll talk about the mobile interface as well. So first of all, when you need help using Geopoint, you can go to customers.geopoint.com. And this is our help center. Where you can get answers to almost any question you can think of. You can try using the search bar to find an answer or use these main topics. Click View All Topics to check out the more expanded topic catalog. Now, if you are just getting started or you have a team of users who don't really know where to start with Geopoint, we have some great resources to get started with. This new user learning guide is linked from the right sidebar, and it's also available from this Downloads tab. These downloadable guides are a new resource we're developing that are a more approachable way to learn about how to use Geopoint. It kind of guides you through trying out some of the basic tasks so you can learn how to do it without being overwhelmed with all those detailed help articles. But of course, there's links to detailed help throughout this guide. So it's a really great way to kind of become an expert and kind of bend that learning curve so you can become a powerful user pretty quickly. So hopefully those resources will help you answer all your questions. But if not, we have a fantastic support team. You can email them at support@geopoint.com or click Log a Case in the Help Center or this Contact Support button here. And this is a great way when there's something isn't working as expected, or you're not quite sure how something's supposed to work, you can reach out to our team that way. Okay, so that covers the basics. Let's jump in. I'll first show you how to get to Geopoint. I'm already here. But so if you're using Lightning, Geopoint is available from the Map tab in the All Items section of the App Launcher. And if you're using Classic, you can click that plus sign. It's a similar, I think it's called All Tabs. And you would just click Map, although you can also just get there using the Geopoint app. It should be a default tab. So here we are. Looks quite a lot. Looks like I need to plug in my laptop. The perks of working from home, I'm sure you all can relate. Really is such a time of adjustment for all of us, I think, but pretty grateful to be working remotely. Our whole Ascent Cloud team is working remotely. We're located pretty much throughout the country, from California to Detroit, and got some people on the East Coast as well. So we're actually used to kind of working from different places. So we're lucky to have that option. All right, so we're plugged in now. Okay, let's jump into this. Now, getting started here in Geopoint, you'll notice it looks quite a lot like Google Maps. And that's because we use the Google Maps API. You'll notice Google there at the bottom. If you're familiar with using the Google Maps app, then you are already ahead of the gang here. These tools on the right side reflect something, intuitively you're probably aware of what some of these do. We have the Google Street View, zooming in and out, the ability to jump to your current location, change to full screen. And we also have a control panel here on the left side, that's where really a lot of the powerful stuff you'll do in Geopoint comes from. That's where you'll create data sets and search them on the map. So before we dive into creating data sets in that whole world, let me just talk about some of these tools on the right side along the edge. This search bar here, it says search places, markers, and Salesforce. And it does quite a lot. We just did a whole update to the search bar that makes it even more powerful. So let me show you what it does. We can start by just searching for a record. Let's say you know of a record that has already been set up for mapping by your admin. Now we're not jumping into all the mapping setup and the admin side of things with this training, but there's a lot of resources on that. But we'll just focus on the user side once all that installation and post-installation has been done. So for example, I have a company called Retro Digs, and it's giving me a list of suggestions, including the Salesforce suggestions. It's an account set up for mapping, and if I click that, I can jump right to that record. And when I have a record loaded to the map, I can click it and see all the actions that have been set up for it. I can see any fields that have been added. And it's also pulling up a list of other Salesforce records related to that, including events. Now, I can also take quick actions on these Salesforce results. I can quickly log a call, check in, add it to a route. We'll cover routing later, or to a calendar. So super handy way to jump to a record and work with it in all the ways you can work with it in Geopoint, which we'll show you all those ways later. You can also search for things that aren't in Salesforce, for example, coffee shops. And this will give you a list of results based on Google Places, those places that are kind of logged into Google Maps with information from the business. We have ratings, images, hours, everything that's in Google. So even though this isn't a Salesforce record, we've allowed you to work with it with actions. For example, you can set up create record actions in Geopoint to create an account, or maybe create a lead to do some prospecting from the map this way. Or perhaps you want to use to set up event locations and add them to routes. Right here, I have a new event record action. So there's so much you can do with this. Hotels. You can also save a location if you don't want to create a record out of it, and save it for later reference with the Save to My Locations action. So much you can do with the search bar. And of course, if you just have an exact address, you could type that in, jump to that location, work with it in whatever way you need, whether it's navigating there, creating a record, etc. So that's the search bar. I'm going to clear these results. Now, those Google Place results show up in this search tab of the control panel. So let's see. Let's look at these other tools. We have a weather layer. It gives you real-time weather predictions and conditions. It can be pretty handy when you're planning your day. Let's see what it's like. Yeah, it looks like SoCal's got a good day. No heat wave this week. But yeah, it's a great way to do some planning, and not really relevant now, but traffic usually is quite relevant depending on your area. It's like impossibility here, all these green routes, pretty amazing stuff. Normally it's just like red forever. But when that matters, again, that's a good tool to have. Now the settings icon allows you to adjust all of your personal settings. Your admin can set defaults for a lot of these settings, but you have the ability as a user to override those with your own preferences. I won't dive into all of these, but I want to show you a couple. One of them is the starting map position and the use geolocation tool. Now, if I want to load the map in a specific place every time, regardless of where I'm located, I can use the starting map position option. To do that, I'm going to exit out of the settings, let's move the map. Maybe we want to center it in Zizix. If you've ever been to the desert of California, you know all about this super cool road called Zizix that they chose because it's clearly always going to be the last in the alphabet. Anyway, super nerdy little information there. But if you click set here, it's going to capture that zoom and coordinates. And every time you load the map, it's going to load it just as you see here. Now you can override that to use your current location by selecting the use geolocation preference like this. And then that's always going to override the starting map position. Okay, oops, I mean to do that. Now clicking around here. Now there's a lot of other settings here that I won't dive into, but keep in mind that the routing defaults are here. That's relevant if you are using calendar scheduling or routing, and some of these others are explained further in the Help Center. This drop-down that says map is for map styles. By default, map and satellite and the terrain option are here. You can actually upload your own custom map styles. There's this cool website called Snazzy Maps where you can design your own. There's a whole document explaining how to upload that in Salesforce and use it as an option in Geopoint. Moving on, we have these shape drawing tools. And there's a lot of different use cases for these. It could be that you want to search in a particular area, maybe set up a delivery area, do territory management. These tools allow you to create really customized shapes and even lines and polygons. We also have the ability to provide predefined boundaries. For example, states, counties, time zones, etc. So that could be especially relevant if you're doing territory management. Maybe your sales reps or your service reps work with particular postal codes or states, and that's how their territories are set up. So you could use that option here to create shapes, save them, and then use the assignment plans feature that we offer to automatically assign records that fall within those shapes to a particular user, or just designate it with a field or a related list to help you streamline your processes and assist your management. So I think that covers it with a lot of these map tools. So let's start talking about this control panel here, where all the magic happens. By default, you're going to see probably a default folder called My Personal Saved Layers. If you're an admin, you can create more top-level folders like I have here. If you're not an admin, you can create secondary subfolders under your own. There it is. Kind of redundant there. You see I have a few subfolders here to help you organize your layers better. And you'll probably see some of these default data sets that are just based on what objects have been set up for mapping in Geopoint. And I'll load one here by just clicking it. This is all accounts. And every time you click a data set or run a search like this, you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to the search type along the top. Right now I'm doing an everywhere search, so it doesn't have geographic limits. You can do map view, and it would just focus on the visible area of the map. Or you can, if you have a shape on the map, as I just showed you earlier, you could search just within that shape like we talked about, and you can do a nearby search. So we'll try some of those search types after we create our own data set, which we'll do now. And you can see there's quite a few other layers you can create as well. I'm not going to dive into all the layers you can create, but keep in mind they can all be saved in folders accessed from this first tab, which is the Saved Layers tab. I have demographics data. I have a KML layer, shapes, etc. Put it in any folder, mix and match. And the way you add any layer, including a data set, is by clicking the plus sign. We're going to go ahead and create a data set. You can see I have all these other options. We recently allowed you to add CSV files. Super handy if you have a spreadsheet that has any address data at all, even if it's just a city. You can upload that to Geopoint, point to the correct address field. It will geocode, which is just the word that means taking address data and identifying a location on the map. So it'll map that data for you and do it pretty cleanly. It's actually easier to do it this way than through the standard Salesforce upload process. So keep in mind that's a handy new feature we got. So let's click data set. I'm going to show you accounts with opportunities. This is a cross object data set because it's just accounts with opportunities. And it's going to be the account map object. I'm going to save it in my personal saved layers. And this is the dataset editor. The first tab here is filters, and we're going to go ahead and create a cross-object filter for opportunities. Now keep in mind, we are in this scenario, I'm an account manager. I want to look at accounts that have opportunities so that I can plan some trips to meet up with those accounts and kind of nurture those opportunities. May not be something you're doing this month, but maybe in a few months, this is an option. And it's good to do some planning. So let's look at accounts with opportunities. And if I wanted, I could add an opportunities filter, such as annual revenue. Now, we are going to look at routing and scheduling, visits that way, but that's not the end all of Geopoint. It's a fantastic tool for just doing outreach in general. So in this situation that we're in, where we're all social distancing for the most part, and some of those business processes have changed, it's still an extremely useful tool because Geopoint allows you to do a lot of virtual connections through the interface as well, including different actions, campaigns, outreach, custom flows that facilitate email outreach, SMS, all of that. So many options for customizations in Geopoint. So we can touch on a few of those, but we'll go ahead with the scenario. And now the next tab here is fields. And this is just a way to add some information so that when we click a record, we can see a rundown of info about it. So I'll just throw in the account description. We'll add the industry field. And yeah, I think that's good. Now we'll click the next tab, which is markers. Now by default, every marker is going to be the same color with the static marker type selected, but I'd like to color it, kind of tell a visual story with my markers. Great way to get an understanding of who's out there and what they're about. I like to color by industry. It's a nice pick list field with it'll automatically generate some nice colors. If you want to change the default color, you can just click it, change it to whatever you want, use a hex code, throw in a icon. You can even upload your own custom icons, which is pretty cool. Again, if you want to try out some of those options, it's all outlined clearly on our Help Center. You can even add a label. Let's say if you wanted to just have the account name showing for every marker on the map, you can do that, or any other field on the account. And the last tab is Other. It's just kind of some random stuff that may not come up often. This is where you'd find the dataset ID if you needed it. You could adjust some other options here, including the sorting order by field. But I think this is good to go. So I'm going to click Save. Find that data set. There it is, Accounts with Opportunities. If I wanted to make this easier to, or if I want to organize this better, I can just edit that data set and maybe put it in a subfolder. I've got this, or let's do sales data, whatever. Okay, so it's quite easy to just reorganize your layers and put them in other folders and subfolders to keep things clean. Go ahead and I just clicked this second tab, which is the Map Layers tab, and this is where you manage all the layers that are on the map at the current time. I'll show you that in a second here, but for now I'm going to click X because I just want to focus on the new data set that I just created. Let's go ahead and load that data set. I'm going to go ahead and do an everywhere search so there's no geographic limits. There it is. Oh, great, I got two. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and load that. Probably a duplicate data set that I created earlier. There's my funny globe. Okay, so here are my results. If I scroll down, I can see a spreadsheet form of my Accounts with Opportunities search that I just did. Pretty handy way to manage your data, actually, because you can sort in real time. You can update fields. Let's say you're having some conversations, doing some outreach, making some calls, and quickly add some notes or whatever it is to give you more relevant information when you're doing your analysis. And let's go back to that second tab, the Map Layers tab, and let's apply some visualizations to really bring this to life. So one thing I like to start with is the heat map option. Right now it's just a bunch of markers on the map and it's kind of like hard to gauge the value of them. The heat map lets you get that understanding pretty easily. It's showing you a heat map based on concentration of records, but if I wanted to weigh it by a certain value, like let's say I want to see the weighted value based on annual revenue, so that those with the higher revenue have more weight in the heat map. You could set that. I think you just need to add it to the data set, that field, which we didn't add, but it would be an option. Or maybe we can do that real quick. Let's add annual revenue field. And of course, if there's missing data, you're not going to get as clear a picture. And that just goes back to the whole the fact that good data is always going to give you the best decision making and bring you the most value in any process you do. So here we are. Let me choose. Does that not work? I'm not quite sure why it's not giving me the weighted value option. It may be because I need to remap that layer. Might be missing there, but here we're seeing a good concentration of records. So this is exactly what I needed to make a choice about where I'm going to do some outreach or maybe do some marketing campaigns, targeting a certain region. You can do all that with list actions and from the Geopoint interface. But we'll talk about the idea of visiting a location. So let me show you. I'm going to turn off this heat map, and let's look at this Chicago concentrated area where I see a lot of accounts with opportunities there. And I'm going to show you how to build a route from these. And that's pretty easy to do. You just click a record and click Add to Route. So I'm going to click all of these records and add it to a route. Now, I also want to identify a hotel where I'm going to stay. So let's jump back to that handy feature of doing a places search of hotels. And then I can pick one out. Hampton Inn and Suites sounds good to me. Can save it to my locations. So it's always available. Next time I go to Chicago, it'll be saved in, there it is. Obviously, I've already done this demo, so you see it twice. Clearly, I need to clean my layers, but you get the idea. There it is saved. I can quickly reference that place, even if it's not saved in Salesforce. It's handy there when I'm using mobile. That's handy as well because I can quickly load it, navigate there, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. Okay, so I have Hampton Inn and Suites. I'm going to add that to my route too. I'm actually going to add it twice. Oops, what just happened? That's my route stop, not my, because it's going to be the start and end location. I'm going to click and drag this to the top. So now I have a route set up, assuming I'm still going to Chicago in whatever plan I have in mind. It's really hard to make long-term plans right now, right? It's a strange time we're living in, but it will get back to normal one day. And it's just going to be a closer gradual movement toward normal, I'm sure. We're all eager for that. Okay, let me go ahead. I'm going to click the search tab in the control panel and clear those hotel results. And so this route that I created, it's available in this routes tab, this green arrow. And there are really handy tools for making this route optimized. You can optimize it by distance to give you the quickest route, most efficient, and you can optimize it by schedule. Say I have one of these locations maybe asked that I visit at a certain time. I could add that in. So let me show you. I'm going to click Schedule under the optimization type, and that opens up these time slots. Let's say I spoke to Burnham Park contact, and they're like, hey, can you show up at 9 a.m.? And so this route is going to adjust itself so that I can meet that meeting time. Now it's saying it cannot meet scheduling constraints because so what I'm going to do is adjust this. Now it should have automatically adjusted it. Oh, okay. So another thing to keep in mind is you have a route window here. So right now it's set at 8 to 6 p.m. And make sure that you adjust this if necessary to ensure you meet your scheduling constraints. Now this should be moved up to the second slot in order to meet that scheduling constraint. Okay. Another option, of course, is distance. By default, the route's going to be set in the order that you added the stops. So that optimization checkbox right there is pretty important to make sure that you're going to get there in the most efficient way. So when you're done setting up your route, go ahead and click the disk icon. And I'll set it as Chicago route, and I'll set it for, well, can't make long-term plans, can we? But we'll set it for 2 weeks. Now, I'm talking about a sales visit, but there's so many essential workers that are doing service visits, and that may be your industry. You may have service teams that are busy on the road all the time. And there are quite a few options in Geopoint for organizing and managing that. Routing is one way. Routing is a great way for individual users to just kind of on the fly create a route, optimize it. Easy to do from your phone as well. We'll take a glance at that in the mobile app. But there are other options that may pertain to your team more. And one is calendar scheduling, which was just released last year. And it's a pretty exciting feature because it syncs more with the way you may be doing things in Salesforce. Let's see, I saved this route, so let's go to the calendar schedule. Actually, I'm going to go to the map layers tab. I'm just going to exit that route. Remove the route. That's fine because we saved it. I'm going to click X. Okay, so let's talk about calendar scheduling. Now, there are a few differences with this. It's when you add events with calendar scheduling, it does sync with your Salesforce calendar. So it does take a little bit extra setup because you need to set up, or your admin needs to set up some Salesforce objects that communicate with your Salesforce calendar. And it may just be that you use events. It's a pretty easy default way, or you may have a custom object that you just need to set up to work with it. And what you can do is add things to your schedule. It'll reflect in your Salesforce calendar, and it will also create a route on the map. It's not the same exact thing as the route I just showed you, but it functions very similarly. So let's load a data set that we just created, and we'll just do a quick get that darn duplicate layer out of there. And we'll just do a quick demo of this. So it's very similar to creating a route. You'll click the record. You'll click Add to Calendar. And it's going to put it in the staging area that you can drag and drop to whatever location you want. So it has that flexibility, which is kind of nice. Now you can see I have two objects that are set up for calendar. One is site visit, one is event. You can configure them different ways. You can make it so that it just takes a couple clicks and just adds it, or you can set it up with fields that need to be entered for each event. Now I'm getting this big error because I have my starting location set in Orange, California. So what I could do is, normally I would have a more practical start location. So I'm going to change that real quick. So here, let me show you how it looks. Now you see it's giving me a travel plan on the map. Not sure why it's starting that. Oh, I see. So one of these is, let me see if I can find a better. So this one is, let me delete that one. Okay. See if I can do this a little cleaner. Okay, let's try again. We're going to add this one to the calendar. So I can show you. Add it there. Now that my start and end locations are set up correctly, now it looks cleaner. Okay, so let's look at this route. There's a couple options here. You can click this magnifying glass to kind of zoom in on your travel plan or your route. As you can see, it's giving me a similar kind of view as the route would. And let me add another stop here. Add to calendar. Now, let's say you already have some events set up on your calendar, and it works the other way as well. You can open the calendar view to that day, click that magnifying glass, you'll see that route on the map. Other handy thing about calendar that's different than our original routing feature is that you can look at other users that if you have access to do that. So you can set up schedules for other users as well. And that's a great way to manage service teams and to allow managers to get a view of what their technicians are doing. So it has some additional management tools you may not have with traditional routing. Go ahead and save this. Calendar day. A lot you can do in calendar, a lot of customization options, default fields, merge fields. So check out our help center. It has a complete rundown of all those options. Now, real quick, let's just look real quick at shapes, because this is such a powerful, important feature to know about if you're handling territories right now. Maybe right now your team is just kind of getting geared up for when things get back to normalcy. Might be a good time to do some territory reassignments or management. This is a great way to do that. You can, for example, maybe you want to set up your local Chicago sales reps so that they are managing certain counties. You could create a shape based on county shape type here. Save it with a name. Pretty easy. And just click save. Again, there's a full tutorial on our help site about how to use the shape library, because just like many of our features, there's just so many options. So check out that if you need some guidance. But once you create a shape like this and have it saved, you can do all sorts of things with it using assignment plans, our territory management tool. You can also use the shape to perform actions and searches. You can search within the shape for any of these data sets. You can even update fields of all the records in the shape. So handy for data management. It gives you that other perspective, that visual perspective you can't get with other ways of managing field updates in Salesforce. So check out all these options in the shape menu, and I'll show you real quick. Actually, this isn't a good example because this shape is too small, but I'm going to edit this shape and then click a few more counties just to show you how the shape search works. So if you really wanted to narrow down which accounts you were looking at, you've got the shape here. And if I just click that shape search option at the top and then refresh accounts with opportunities, it's going to narrow down that search. And we're just going to see in the map data table, it's just those 4 results that fall within it. And there I can then update any field on the account, change ownership on the fly. Easier way to, if you don't need a complex assignment plan option, that would be one way to just reassign ownership of those records to a new owner that manages that shape. So a lot to do there. And I'll show you real quick one more search type that's quite relevant. Let's try doing a nearby search. Let's say you are planning on going somewhere. You can start at that location, load that location to the map, and then search within a radius of that. So let's check out, we'll just go there, Grand Hotels. Actually, let's go to that Retro Digs account. This fun dummy account I set up. We're going to set this as the search center. Actually, another way you can do that is just right-click anywhere in the map, and you have this map actions menu where you can set the center of the map. And that's a great way to make sure that your nearby search is centered in the right place. So lots of other things you can do here. You can actually create accounts, create records, actually perform actions from any custom location. It doesn't have to be a Google place or a physical address. It just needs to be basically coordinates that you click. So yeah, let's do a quick nearby search. We're going to do, let's just do all accounts. And you see here I have a range option set up. You can even do drive time. So we're going to search 25 miles from this location there and see what accounts we get. And you'll see it's going to give us a radius shape, and it's going to give us a list of results in there. So there they are. Our nearby accounts. Can, like I just showed you, add them to your calendar, create a route, maybe set up a marketing campaign using all these handy actions, do some outreach, maybe some virtual outreach is the best thing to do now. Not so long ago, we deployed the ability to perform flows from any place in Geopoint. So maybe you have this complex flow that does some crazy stuff that, sets up a process, uses logic to do, custom pathways and outreach, and you can easily, seamlessly perform that flow from a location on the map or a record, and integrate your Salesforce processes that way. So it's like limitless options with actions. So keep that in mind. Feel free to explore the Help Center if you want to learn how to do that. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the mobile app. Just going to do this emulator here. It's going to show you what it looks like if you're looking at things from a mobile device. And you can do quite a lot in Geopoint from the Salesforce Mobile App. We are integrated natively. It's available as a tab called Map, and make sure if you don't see it in Salesforce Mobile, make sure your admin just adds that tab. We keep adding new things too, like some things you weren't able to do last year that we've added. Every update seems to add, which we do every few months, seems to add some powerful new features in mobile. So let's just talk about the basics. Tap the search bar at the top, and that's where you can load any of those data sets you have saved. There's that accounts with opportunities data set that we made. Let's just tap it and we'll do a quick nearby search. By default, when you're using a mobile device, it's going to do a nearby search. It's just practical. And any mobile app has limitations to bandwidth that doing a whole everywhere search of, 500,000 records or, whatever it may be, is never going to be possible using a mobile app. So there are some limitations, and you can actually do a map view type search once you kind of pan the map. You see this option to search this area, so you can rerun that data set and down there. But yeah, so if you want to create a route on the fly, you would just tap, and then this white bar is where you use actions, add to route and such. Add to calendar as well is an option. Routes and calendars are available as well by just tapping the respective icons. Here's the calendar icon here. You can see that Chicago calendar events I have set up, and I could just slide to show on map if I was ready to, if I happen to be in Chicago to do that. Routes are accessed from this little routes icon. If you tap the folder, then you see your saved routes. And then if you tap one here, the local one, then you can get started going there. Like I have this route here, and I have this random start location. And you see I have this primary action set called navigate. So here we go. I can just jump into Google Maps and navigate there seamlessly. And if I happen to be in Chicago traveling far away, I'll just show you real quick. Arrive at O'Hare, not sure what to do. All I got to do is open that route. I see my first stop is the Hampton Inn. I can go ahead and navigate there by just tapping that. And then, of course, there's the option to set a ride share as well. And those options are in this settings icon. You can set your navigation ride share preferences if you want Uber or Waze instead. And there's some other settings here as well you can learn about. You can view your list of results from this icon. Oops, let me get out of this. Oof, this layers icon right here lists all the records from the data set that I loaded, and I can actually take actions on them. I can even sort the results. So pretty powerful stuff. You can load shapes as well and view them in the map and mobile as well. So hopefully that helps you understand all the essentials of using Geopoint. Let's see, I have a question here. Can you associate a contact with a meeting location other than the contact's address? That's a good question. Let me think about that. I think there is a possible way to do that. That's sort of a workaround. So let me look into that, and perhaps we can reach out to you by email with some tips on that. Because off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to explain how to do it, but let's reach. I can have someone on the team or myself will reach out to you and help you walk through that. So hopefully you can achieve whatever you're trying to do. I hope this answered everyone's questions today and helps you get started using Geopoint. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.